Go, go.
Okay, we're live. Boom, booyah. I'm rocking with the best camera on probably Japan YouTube at least now. Yes. Because I got this awesome thing.
For now.
And we're first of all, well, that's the problem.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay.
We can hear you fine. Oh, your sound is good this week. So we have our guest this week, Matagaijinka. Welcome, Gabriel. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
All the way from you're from where? Toronto.
I'm from Ottawa.
Ottawa,
Ontario, Canada.
Okay, good to have you along very early in the morning there. Thank you for waking up.
Well,
yes.
I woke up for 2.5.
Oh.
Well, you got more than you bargained for.
Excellent. Before
we get into this, there's a kind of a serious matter I think we need to address just before we start.
Okay.
There's been a lot of discussion going around this week.
We have a new rule. We're going to have a new rule in the show because too much death. Too much death.
For a start, I'd like to categorically state that 2.5 Oyajis has had nothing to do with the death of Prince. Now, I know that
the FBI is in contact with us.
The coroner has not yet actually determined the cause of death, and they've said it may take weeks to determine. But I'm prepared to go out on a limb now, and ahead of the coroner's findings, say that Barry probably didn't have anything to do with it.
It was Ryan Boundless.
Death by Barry. Did Ryan Boundless also curse?
It could have been Boundless trying to set up Barry. I don't know, but all I know is that Barry, true to his word, asked me. Well, he sent me 2 messages on. What was it? Yesterday or the day before yesterday?
Day before yesterday.
Is my voice funny, dudes? If it is, I'm going to switch, but then I'm going to be out of sync.
You're fine.
I'm using the manly mode. Does my voice sound deep again?
Sounds good.
It might be it sounds deep on this. That's making me. It shouldn't be doing that. But anyway, I just want to be clear that he messaged me immediately. First, he said he didn't do it, and 2, he asked me to recommend 2 good Prince albums.
He asked me for a list of other people that he wants that I want killed.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I was going to say
it had nothing to do with it.
This could become a whole new different show, couldn't it? I recommended Purple Rain, of course, off the bat. The problem when I looked up Prince's discography, the problem is that all of my favorite tracks of his are like evenly spread among like 10 albums, and I couldn't really pick it. It was really hard to pick his second album other than Purple Rain.
Does he have 10 albums? I didn't know that.
He's got more than that. He's got like lots and lots and lots of albums, and I haven't even really caught up with his recent stuff. But yes, I look super white. Well, news for you. I'm Yorkshire heritage. This is it comes with the skin thing. You know what? I can probably change the white balance on my because I've got a DSLR. So anyway, I don't know. Any other comments on the part? Gabriel, you listen to any Prince? What's your favorite Prince song?
Well, when I was a teenager, I remember watching the movie Purple Rain.
Oh yeah.
And so I always liked Purple Rain, but I mean, at the time, I was kind of more listening to bands like The Clash and Sex Pistols, and I was busy getting drunk and stuff, so I didn't really.
Bands like The Clash and who? What was the other one?
Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Who? Sex Pistols.
Yeah. Look, good English punk band.
Oh no, I like them.
Oh yeah, so I haven't actually heard much Prince in the last little while. I mean, in many years. But I did like Purple Rain. It was a really good song.
Yeah, well, that whole album actually. I mean, some great songs on it. Victor, what's your favorite Prince song?
Oh, Little Red Corvette.
Oh, that is a good one.
Come on.
I always like Let's Get Crazy. I mean, that's always been like my. But I mean.
That's so crazy.
But when I go through his discography and I see it's actually the low key tracks. It's like Money Doesn't Matter, Sign of the Times. He's got so many, and he's so bloody diverse. Like he's so musically, he's obviously a genius as well. It's a great loss, but there again, everyone's saying how 2000 and When Doves Cry as well. Wikipedia points out, which also he allowed MC Hammer to use as a background for Prey. But yeah, it's got a great beat to it. I don't know. I mean, just everything. Everything. Kiss is great. Although I also like the Art of Noise remix of Kiss. Kiss is a great song. I mean, I don't know. So well, everyone dies sometime.
Something that we should bring up, though. Do you remember the scandal about? I think it was about 10 years ago, maybe less. No, it's younger than YouTube. It must have been about 5 to 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And a mother uploaded a video of her daughter
dancing baby. Let's get crazy.
And Prince took it down. And he got a lot of heat for that.
Yeah, well, it was his music company that did it, but he stood up for the music company doing the takedown, and actually went all the way to the Supreme Court, whether a mum can do a home video on a mobile phone of their kid dancing like crazy to Let's Get Crazy, which was a ridiculous lawsuit. I mean, but there again, I mean, he considers his music his property, as a lot of artists do, and for the artist, they're entitled, I think, to have an opinion on it. Although I thought it was overreaching, the music company are just like greedy, but
to be fair to Prince, that it was a pretty ugly baby.
Well,
I mean,
that would matter to him.
It looked like a grown human being. It looked like the face switch. The face switch on Snapchat. It looked like that.
Well, he only surrounded himself with beautiful women, which is another thing I'm not going to hold against the guy, but, he...
Have you guys noticed that a bunch of artists are dying off recently?
Well, people are talking about
this year has been tough. It's been a tough year.
Yeah, Merle Haggard just went.
Yeah.
I'm a big Merle Haggard fan, actually.
Yeah.
I like Merle Haggard.
Oh, I was like, oh my god, Merle Haggard's gone. And he was young, too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so enough about Prince and another great artist, but there again, I mean, I guess with an aging society, we're going to get used to obituaries are going to be part of the normal news. It's just inevitable given the baby boom and all that sort of stuff. Although 57, it is too young.
Yeah.
Still, it's a good chance to remember some good music. Let's get to the matter at hand, however. Mata Gaijinka, how long have you been... Well, a bit of a self-introduction for people who don't know you that well. You're always in the comments on the show, so most people who watch this should know.
And start with your name, because some people will not understand your name, which I think is a pretty clever name. I heard the name. That's a cool name.
Well, I actually, I only just started making YouTube videos like in end of December, and I always wanted to, but never felt I had anything to say. And then I was watching like Victor's shows. Gimmeabreakman, Gimmeabreakman, Hikosaemon. I was watching a bunch of others.
I inspire a lot of people because people,
and I was like,
if you can do that, I can do that.
Yeah, I can do this totally better than that guy.
People like unrested as well, and I was like, you know what? I actually spend a lot of my time ranting to myself, talking to myself, so why not make videos? And so I started making videos, but I have an interest in Japan, and I want to make some more academic kind of videos about Japan. But I was like, what's a good catchy name that no one else will use? And so I came up with the idea of saying, well, I'm a foreigner, I'm a gaijin. So I was like, what? Another foreigner? Like, Mata Gaijinka? And so that's how I came up with my YouTube name, and it's kind of stuck.
I think it's a good username, actually. It is catchy. It's a bit like that Japanese girl, or it's kind of kind of Sonomama, but you've got it first. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but my real name is Gabrielle Sutherland, and I don't mind doxing myself.
You're a brave man.
Yeah, seriously.
I am, just to introduce myself, I am a PhD student in political science at Cultural University here in Ottawa. And
are you specializing in Japanese studies, or?
I'm specializing in long-term societal change, and I'm using the Meiji Restoration as my case. Okay. So Japan studies have always been like really interesting to me ever since I was a kid and I saw Shogun, starring Richard Chamberlain, back in the day.
I met the actress who is the love interest in that.
Oh,
3 months ago. Thanks to Three Old Dudes guy, Simon came down to Nagoya, and he knows her from Facebook, and he introduced me, and we went out to a little dance jazz bar with Tomoko there too.
Well, it was really interesting because she learned all her lines phonetically.
Oh, really? I don't know any of the details. I've seen the movie, of course, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, she didn't at the time. I don't know if she speaks English now, but at the time she didn't speak a word of English, so she had to learn the lines.
I don't think she speaks English now either, but I'm not. We spoke Japanese only, but.
Yes, I would expect. But that got my interest in Japan, and a few ups and downs in my life sort of in between then and now, I went back to school actually as a mature student in order to learn Japanese, and my goal was to be a translator. That hasn't worked out, but I just decided, you know what, I want to learn as much about Japan as I can because I want to move here. I want to live in Japan.
So you're a student, right? No?
Yeah, I'm a doctoral candidate.
A doctoral candidate. So that means you're postgraduate.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at? So you don't have the PhD yet, but you're working towards a PhD.
Yes, I have at the moment I have a master's degree in Pacific Studies. And
Pacific Studies.
Yeah, I actually did my case on Tonga, Fiji, and
Pacific
Samoa.
Rim? No, sorry.
Tonga, Fiji, and Samoa.
Yeah, I did my master's thesis on the interactions between the three island groups at around about the time that Captain Cook arrived. Captain Cook's diaries were amazing. They provide so much detail on what he saw. Well, it was just a fascinating case.
I want to go into that on this show, but actually offline, I'd love to talk about that with you. I can hear an echo at the moment. Is that someone's speakers on?
No, I got headphones in.
Maybe that's me. Anyway,
yeah, we can do that anytime.
My dad is Fijian, and like New Zealand is practically, we used to be trustee of Samoa, and I've got half my friends. That's like a really cool topic.
Your dad's Fijian?
My dad's Fijian, yeah. I'm half Fijian, half Australian. But I'm from New Zealand.
You're half Kiwi and half Australian.
Well,
you've been lying all this time.
Well, my dad was New Zealand Army, and he became a naturalized New Zealand citizen, but I'm a born New Zealand citizen. My dad was born in Fiji.
Can I ask a racist question?
No. You're going to ask it anyway.
I'm going to ask it anyway. Is your dad white?
Of course he is. Well,
they have white Fijians? I thought all Fijians were all like Samoans.
Dude, that's like, you have black people to the president of Brazil. Seriously, dude. What's wrong with you? Fiji, for one, is 50% Indian. And 50%
I have no idea. I really have no idea. But I don't even know where Fiji is on a map. Seriously.
Yeah, well, it's 50% indigenous. It's nearly 50% Indian. And there are white people, lots of white people who were born there, especially back in the 50s when it was being run by New Zealand and Australia.
Oh, it was run by New Zealand and Australia, see?
Yeah, yeah.
And they have a long history of Tongans who tried to take over at one point.
Indeed. Well, that's right.
Your sound, Gabriel, your sound is going in and out. If you can... As soon as when you move back, it goes back. I don't know. Where's the mic?
I will sit up straight. It's somewhere on my laptop. I don't know.
Something's echoing. You're getting two mic sources. Doesn't matter. Okay. So anyway, you study Japan as part of your Pacific studies. So you're obviously into all of that. There was another thing about you which I checked before that it was cool to bring up, and I'd never brought it up before, but it is interesting to me. So you're female.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Victor's gone. So you're female.
I'm biologically male. Legally, I'm female.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Chromosomally, I'm male.
Yeah.
No, I'm a trans person.
I'm not deeply knowledgeable about this. Victor thinks he's deeply knowledgeable, which is what would be interesting if he was still online. I don't even pretend to be knowledgeable, but so what's the line? I mean, can I ask how far along are you? I mean, also you're legally, obviously, Facebook, everything is female.
I missed that at all. What happened?
Yeah, I started transitioning back in 1999.
Okay, so the year I came to Japan.
Oh, really? So yeah, I started transitioning back in 1999, and it took like a few years to fight the medical system here in Canada, which actually pays for it.
Well, in Canada, the medical system, you can change gender for free in Canada.
Yeah.
Wow.
It varies from province to province. Different provinces cover different things.
Yeah.
Some provinces don't cover everything. Some cover like the more cosmetic stuff. British Columbia, whereas living at the time, didn't cover the cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
But covered the actual transition itself. And so after fighting a medical system, because of course it's government run and it's government administered, so the government's going to decide what it's going to do. And they kind of put a hold on surgeries for a long time as they went through like the bureaucratic stuff.
Yeah.
And I finally got it done on May 17th, 2005.
So when you say you got it done, what did you get done, if I can ask?
Oh, I had surgery, bottom surgery in 2005.
Okay, so if you've had surgery, are you still You said you're biologically male though.
Well, my chromosomally I'm male.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can't operate on those. So
No.
in every other way, then.
Yeah, legally I'm female, and that was a big process because I was actually born in Switzerland, and so
wow.
changing legal sex was a complicated procedure. Here in Canada, if you're born in a province, you just go down, when you have the surgery, you just take your affidavit from the surgeon to your local vital statistics bureau, and they just change it. I was born in Switzerland, the rules, and they wanted a court order from the BC Supreme Court declaring me legally female. So I'm actually the very first person in Canada to have their legal sex change as a result of the court order.
Wow.
And it was an international.
That's international. I mean, the court ordered your sex to be changed.
Yeah. Well, and because the Swiss were like, yeah, we'll do that, but you have to go to court, and we just need the information, and then we sent the court order in, my residence here in Canada, and they were like, okay, done.
As someone from a legal background, I think that's great for you because you wanted it, obviously, and it was necessary. But at the same time, I do worry about the precedent of courts being able to order people to change gender.
Well, we
request it, right?
It was we requested. It was a declaratory order.
I just worried where it could go.
We're going to do it to you.
Victor, you have 500 hours community
I went
service.
to Canada, I came back to Victoria, so just vacation. I didn't plan. I was just ordered. Quick question. You said about the provinces. Each province has different rules regarding what they will pay for.
Yeah, because in Canada we have, we have federally mandated healthcare. We have socialized medicine, but it's not administered.
That's a foreign idea for Americans, but
yeah, but it's not actually administered by the federal government. It's administered by each province. So each province makes up its own rules as to how to fund hospitals, how to fund procedures, what procedures, whether they pay for pharmacare or not. Here in Ontario Health doesn't pay for pharmacare, but BC does.
Yeah. So tell me this though, as someone who obviously studies Japan very deeply, and you like the Meiji Restoration, so that's not your average Japan weeaboo.
Yeah, I'm not a weeaboo, honest.
It's okay. But you do have a plan to come to Japan as well at some point. You're talking about. You must have done some degree out of personal interest of understanding, and I don't really know the current state of play myself, on the acceptance of trans people in Japan. What's your understanding of that?
I actually don't have any understanding on that. I haven't really. That hasn't really been the major focus of what I've checked in Japan.
Yeah.
That was like on the list. But I have a lot of Japanese friends who come to Canada to learn English, and we were kind of talking about that. And most people don't care. Is the impression I got. But whether that translates into like acceptance for gaijin getting a job as a trans person, I have no idea. My understanding is most trans people end up in like Nichome, which is not where I'm wanting to go, of course.
Well, that's an interesting subject, and I've talked about it with Unimportant Hero a couple of times, who is male to female, female to male trans, and of course, Nichome is a physical town dedicated to LGBT culture. But the interesting thing that we've heard from Gregorio Atomic Boy X when he came on here, and that I've heard from Unimportant Hero, is that the culture is changing here now, where people hook up via the internet, so they don't need Nichome so much as a meeting place anymore. So Nichome is kind of in decline a little bit as well, from what I hear. Although that said, there's no question that is a in terms of a place, that's a place I guess that people can go to meet people like themselves. I don't know. What's your take, Victor? Where's Japan's society at?
A couple of things. First of all, the people that you meet going overseas, you've got Japanese over in Canada, right? Yeah. So they're going to be different right away because they're willing to cross borders and experience new things, and they're probably more open-minded. I'm really saddened often because I teach a lot of but by the reaction I get from some of the obasans that I teach, some of the older women. I shouldn't say that on camera, but if they one of them finds a video, some of them are very, very intelligent women, incredibly intelligent. They know everything. They just human walking.
They make you sad.
But they make me sad because they'll if anything comes up in a movie or a textbook or not textbook but an article that we're reading, and if there's any homosexual in it, you know, one or two of them will look at each other like, you know, that's so weird. Hendan okashi sarewa. And I try to. I used to get angry, like, hey, these are, you can't act that way. You can't really get angry. You've got to stifle it because they're your students, and I don't want to preach to them. And they're older than me too. But I'm saddened by the reaction by some of the older people. Some of the younger people don't seem to care so much though. But I do see. I'm not even, and excuse me if I make some kind of faux pas here, but I do see men dressed as women, or what appear to be men dressed as women, sometime on the subway, and people kind of avoid them more than they avoid each other. And everyone avoids each other anyway. But I saw a man on the subway once where his skirt he was wearing kind of a mini skirt, and his skirt was up, and you could see his white panties, and he was leaning up against the wall, waiting. It was really crowded. It was rush hour. And he was waiting for the train. He was just leaning against the wall. And somehow his skirt had rode up against the wall, and you could see his white panties. And nobody was saying anything. Everyone was walking by him and kind of glancing. And I could see people like noticing, but nobody would say anything. So I just walked up to, I guess I should say her, and said, "Chetto, no pants mienun dakedo."
So I just wanted a quick test. My voice, I'm guessing, is out of sync now with my video.
Yeah.
No, is it?
How bad is it?
No, slight.
Okay, but I don't sound like Barry White anymore, not that that's a bad thing.
No, you sounded fine before, though. I didn't have any
Okay.
problem.
I just heard the playback. On the playback, I've got the deep thing again.
Well, it sounds
I'm
fine.
going to try switching mics a couple of times, see if it fixes.
All right. Slightly out of sync. Someone said sync.
Yeah. Well, actually, though, it's that means that the buffer isn't so bad. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry to distract. I just wanted to see if I can fix this on the fly. Let me try. Keep going anyway.
All right.
It's all good.
So
Your voice is fine.
I think the acceptance level in Japan is mostly like it's so rare that people don't know people don't have an opinion. Okay, here's what happened today. I actually asked on Facebook. Gary Arg has been posting comments about whether we should let transsexuals use female bathrooms.
Yeah.
Right? And he's against it. And I was like, well, I think it's fine. And Mully and I were having a discussion about this. Mully wore mouthstrut, and he's kind of against it too. I think, but ultimately he said it's not really our problem. Because I don't care if a woman dressed as a man walks in a men's bathroom. So if the women are fine with it, it's really not our problem. It's for the women to decide. And I thought about that, and if my wife is okay with it, and my female friends are okay with it, I've got nothing to say about it. But so I asked 3 housewives today, and they're all relatively young. And 2 of them said yes, and the other one was like, no, that's weird. But here's the other thing. They said that in Japan, people will take advantage of it, and they have. They say people dress up as women to get into the bathroom, to do tosatsu, and I was shocked. I said, really? That happened to? Oh, yeah, people do that. I'm like, you would go to the trouble to dress as a woman just to get some pictures of women in the toilet? And apparently it happens in Japan, so it's kind of something apparently never happens.
At some point, everything happens in Japan.
It's one of those touchy issues that I take a bit of a contrarian point of view, because I think if this had been like in between 2005 and 2010, when trans people, at least in Canada and the US, were making some headway on gaining acceptance in society. But in the last little while, I mean, the activists have been so shrill, so fanatical, so intolerant and the definition of trans has been expanded to such that if you wake up one morning and you feel that day that you're of a different gender, then you're trans. I don't agree with that, because back when they talk about harassment, and I said in one of my videos that look, when I came out and then before I came out, if I was to walk down the street, the harassment I would get would be a curb stomping, right?
Would be a what?
A curb stomping.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I mentioned that to them too. I said in America they would just kick your ass if they didn't.
yeah, but we were making headway in the late 2000s, but then in the last couple of years it's gotten to that people. I think there are definitely genuine homophobic and transphobic people. There always have been. There always will be. But I think a lot of the anti-trans rhetoric that I've heard is being driven really by this idea of, fuck, we don't want to be told by the SJWs what to do anymore.
Yeah,
And
I was
so
going to say, it's gotten weird, hasn't it? Because the SJWs have gone a little bit crazy, and there's like a backlash against
Exactly.
that. And I can actually kind of relate to the SJWs going a bit crazy, even if I agree with the core of what they say most of the time. But it really is. I look back at the West now from Japan, in the slots that I see, and it looks weirder and weirder. Yeah, I've noticed that dimension. It used to just be like rednecks and frustrated conservative Christians and stuff like that who go around beating people up. But it's different to that now, isn't it? It's like I don't give a shit.
But if you're a trans person and you don't agree with every aspect of the narrative, you are treated just as badly as if is a Christian conservative treating it.
Yeah.
When a Christian conservative comes out with something homophobic and transphobic, I'm not really bothered by it because it's like I expect that. But when you get someone who talks about inclusion and diversity ad nauseum, coming out with transphobic slurs because you don't agree with every single point, to me that's worse because it's like that goes against what you say you believe in. And these are the kind of videos I make because I think this is a really, really important issue. And I'm getting a little bit passionate.
Well, people who have minor differences usually disagree a lot, like Catholics and Baptists. I mean, they agree on so much, but it's the few things that really drive them crazy.
I even got told that I was the wrong kind of trans person.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, the thing, as an academic, you would appreciate this as much as anyone. When I was doing law, and you do perspectives on law, and the feminism class, and the different feminist perspectives. One, there's so many different, established feminist perspectives, and most of them completely contradict each other on everything. On prostitution, on on surrogacy, on all these sorts of, and I imagine with gender identity as well, you have activist groups going that are all supposedly in the same cause, and they're vehemently against each other.
Well, see, that's the problem. That's exactly the problem. Is they argue for collective marginalization, but they can only argue for collective marginalization if you ignore.
Yeah.
The fact that we're not a homogeneous group, that we have different politics, we have different beliefs, we have different experiences, we don't even agree with each other.
Yeah.
So how can anyone characterize us as the trans community as if we're some kind of like board collective? And as an academic that
the Japanese are the only true Borg collective.
Yeah, I heard that.
Stop it.
I'm sorry if I'm getting like really passionate because this is a really important topic to me.
Passion is like, well, as much as I like my guests to be as boring and uninterested as possible, the occasional small dose of passion can be okay. But so where you do show in your videos a lot of passion about these sort of debates and these sort of perspectives.
Yeah.
And that does seem kind of incongruous with an interest in Japan to something. Well, what's the appeal of Japan?
Everyone asks me that, even Japanese people I know. Why do you like Japan? It's like I have not ever been able to come up with a coherent answer to that question.
Well, you don't have to have a coherent answer.
I love history. I love politics. Well, I don't know much about modern politics so much, but I love the history. I love the culture. I love pop culture. I'm a huge, as you can probably tell, AKB48 fan.
Oh, Japanese pop culture, you mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I know lots of people who've actually done JET programs who've come back to have really positive experiences. And the people are from Japan that I know seem to be really welcoming, and
Yeah.
I think if I was to really go deep down, I would say it's not Canada. If I'm really the nub, it's not. it's kind of like this Orientalist. I admit it. It's kind of like this Orientalist idea that it's over there. It's better.
There's no shame in that. It's
Yeah.
funny. There's so many times. There's so many. Whenever I meet Canadians, it doesn't take very long before, as a New Zealander, I start to recognize things and feel an affinity for the way Canadians think. And that's the first thing. Whenever people ask me why I came to Japan, I more or less say, it's not New Zealand. I like to say lack of sheep as my standard answer.
The lack of sheep.
But by that I mean
Lack of sheep.
lack of sheep.
Mm.
Yeah. New Zealand's a nice country, but it just has too many sheep, and I don't want to spend my whole life doing stuff that involves sheep. I guess you could say the same, I don't know, maple syrup or something like that. But, we have this whole idea that you've got to just get out and go somewhere as different as possible is as much what drew me to Japan as an actual interest in Japan.
And I think this has driven my academic life. I mentioned I went back to school as a maturist student. My life got in the way of pursuing an interest in Japan and Japanese at the time.
Yeah.
But I did my undergraduate. I did a double major in anthropology and in Pacific and Asian Studies.
Yeah.
And in Pacific and Asian Studies at the University of Victoria, there's an Asian language requirement that you have to take in order to graduate. And so I took Japanese on purpose because my goal back then was I was going to become this, simultaneous interpreter, and I was going to be like rolling the dough, and that didn't work out that way.
Well, simultaneous translation is like being a unicycle chainsaw juggler. It's a special skill. It's not just a matter of knowledge or practice. It really is, a special.
Yeah, but then I recognized that that's probably not going to happen. So I should focus my academic interest somewhere else, but still maintain a focus on Japanese. And so I still keep up the language. I immerse myself in. I love variety shows.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love watching AK Bingo and Downtown and what's his name, Okamura Takashi, 99, big fan.
So
And
you haven't been to Japan yet, though, right?
Not yet, no.
So I don't know. What has there been any sort of event that's made you really want to come to Japan, or any sort of connection that you've made, or anything like that?
Connections with people that I've met, but also when I first started my academic life, I didn't, again, I wanted to be a translator, and so, but I think my wanting to go to Japan has really been fed by the more I know. I want to see the Tengu masks, and I want to go to Akasaka, shrine, and I want to go to Osaka and see a comedy show, and I want to go to Shimonoseki and eat fugu, and stuff like that.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Fugumi.
I think it's the more I learn. Sorry, Victor.
Fugumi from The Simpsons.
Oh, I haven't seen Simpsons in a long time.
He goes to a place and eats everything, and there's nothing left except the fugu. And they warn him it's dangerous. He goes, I want it all. Fugumi. When you say your life got in the way, what do you mean by your life got in the way?
Well, as a trans person back in the day, you didn't come out, or you got shit kicked out of you. Right? And so I hid by acting in manners that you would probably describe as hyper-masculine. I'm a man, I'm big and tough, look at me go, And the way I did that, because I didn't really know what it meant to be a man, because I was young, that translated into a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, and took me into a life of the streets. When I moved to Canada, I ended up homeless in Toronto in the winter, where it's like -20 in centigrade, and you learn to survive, and the way I mostly survived was by keeping myself strictly to myself. There are lots of fights. That's going to happen no matter what you do, and so, and I always started drinking when I was 12 years old as a kid, so I didn't really. When I graduated high school, I was not in any position to be able to function in society, because I didn't know how to function in society. And 1995, I had my last drink and my last drug, and from there on in, it was a very long journey to
21 years.
I've been sober for 21 years.
Jeez.
But I spent a long time with that, doing personal development courses and Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and learning about myself. And then I went back to school because I was then in a position to do that. And so as a result, I'm older than most people that I hang out with in university, which is fine. I don't feel my age because I think I've come a very long way since I've been there. But yeah, that's what I mean when life got in the way. And there are some really, there were some really good moments and some really fun moments. Like I hitchhiked from Toronto to Vancouver, which took me 2 weeks in 1995. I jumped a freight train out of Thunder Bay.
Is that legal?
Yeah, it is illegal. I did odd jobs on the way. I even shoveled shit in Alberta at a rodeo, for beer and cigarettes and a couple hamburgers. And
I mean, how do you go from being on drugs and homeless and like you're an academic, you're studying, you're planning trips, you come across now as someone with a life that's relatively together, or I'm sure it's not ever as straightforward as that, but how do you get out of that? I can see how, and you see when you see people who are in that situation, how so many people never get out of it, right? I mean, how do you pull yourself out of that?
Well, a lot of people will tell you, a lot of people who don't know will say, oh, you just have to show some willpower, and that don't work. That don't work at all. I was lucky. I went to a Salvation Army and they put me in treatment. And Salvation Army saved my life. They do a lot of stuff I disagree with, especially when it comes to money and now like transphobia. But they saved my ass.
Yeah.
And so I was very lucky. And I joined AA at a time when you still had the grumpy old men who would tell you the truth, like, shut up, you don't know anything. Shut up and listen. It's like, fuck you, asshole. But they were right. And they began to say, this is what I did, and I've been sober for 20, 30 years. And I was very resistant because I'm special, don't you know? I don't need what you did. That doesn't work for me. But then I started doing what they suggested, and because it worked for them, and lo and behold, it worked. And I think one of the most important things that they told me was to accept stuff in life that I can't change. And to be an open book, to say, this is who I am. Tell people who I am, so that I don't bullshit to myself about who I am. And also about taking risks. I could barely cook a meal. And I've worked as a cook app since then. And every time you take a little tiny risk, you might go back, a couple steps after that, but you just keep trying. And when you succeed at the tiniest thing, your confidence grows.
Yeah.
And you try the next thing, which is slightly bigger, and so on. And so I've come from just doing that and being as honest about myself to myself, not to other people, but to myself. I've come from sleeping in a dumpster in a back alley in Vancouver's downtown east side, which is the poorest postal code in the country, to being a doctoral candidate. And it's not because I'm special, it's not because I'm some fantastic person. I'm still an asshole.
Glad to hear that.
I have my asshole moments, but that's how I got out of it.
No,
how far away are you from graduating and becoming?
I got another 3 years. I got another year of classes, and I've got 2 years of dissertation writing.
Does your experience in that area, does it inform your academic learning and approach?
I think so, to some degree. I'll give an example. There are some academic fields that I don't consider to be like legit academic fields, like gender studies. And I say that as a trans person.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You say that gender studies isn't legit. Wow, that's.
Well, don't get me wrong. Right, historically, feminism has been really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
And feminism has achieved a lot. The queer rights movement has achieved a lot.
You call it the queer rights movement?
Huh?
Did you say you call it the queer rights movement?
Well, there's the queer rights movement. Oh, yeah, here in Canada.
Oh, okay. It's not derogatory.
No, not at all. But And I say this as a trans person, which
Yeah.
gets me accusations of, oh, you're not the right kind of trans person. I didn't know there was such a thing, but what do I know? And and but what feminism, what social justice has become, especially in the last few years, is not what it used to be. When I came out,
These things naturally evolve.
yeah, but when I came out, the message was, I'm a trans person, but I'm powerful. I don't need the society to look after me. I can do it myself, right? Women are powerful. Women don't need men to deal with life. They can make their own decisions, and they're powerful. That was the primary message up until about 2010. About 2010, it started getting into this collective marginalization that women are victims because they're victims. Trans people are victims because they're trans people, right? As a group.
Yeah.
And I'm not a victim. Most of the damage I did to myself, I did it to myself.
I see. So denying that you're a victim is undermining the people who want to play up the victim narrative.
It kind of does. And a lot of it is driven by university campuses.
There is a parallel to what you're saying. I can make this relevant now. There is a subset of social justice warriors in our own little community in Japan that likes to play up the idea that us poor Caucasian males are a victim subset of the society, which gives me constant, material for heckling. And Victor and I, we've been roasted on a full-page spread of the Japan Times for daring to call out, that kind of bullshit.
The reason why I don't think gender studies is a legitimate academic field, quite honestly, is because it's one thing to build up a theory, and then theory, in this sense, is an explanation of facts, of phenomena. It's one thing to build a theory as an explanation of why the things are what they are, but they don't test it empirically. I'm an empiricist. You build a theory, you have a hypothesis, you test it, and you have to then use it to be able to make a prediction as to what's going to happen. But they don't do that. They use this post-structuralist nonsense, this post-modernism crap, to go, yeah, but it's the meaning of the word, and it can be whatever the person interprets the meaning of the word to be. Well, that means it doesn't mean anything.
Well, there's a legit thing, like, I haven't been in university in like 18 years, although I did enjoy it while I was there. I don't want to go back. But there is a merit to learning. There's just to understanding what I appreciated about feminist studies, which I took, with respect to law and other indigenous perspectives on law. I mean, very similar to stuff I'm sure you have in Canada. It's not trying to brainwash you into accepting this is the correct way of looking at things. The whole point of actually learning all those things is to teach you that, one, there are multiple perspectives to the same thing that can have divergent outcomes. And if you want to establish your own ology of some sort, these are the parameters, these are what you have to establish, these are the frameworks, and go ahead, have your flame war afterwards. But just learning not to be absolutist about everything, and this is again where I feel like we've lost sight of that, and people are becoming academically absolutist. I mean, academics defend their theories. I mean, I get that, but it's gotten weird again. The whole point is you're supposed to sort of understand and learn that you can look at the same thing multiple different ways. I can accept that to some people something's a microaggression in Japan, the chopsticks thing, and I'll put my theory out there back that no, but at the same time, I think it's totally legitimate to have a debate done properly, but I feel like the whole thing with the debate, I mean, what we're seeing out of America right now, you can't even debate stuff anymore without being...
It's the same here.
Yeah.
But if it was just learning about different perspectives from different groups, that's fine, that's legitimate, but it isn't that anymore. And I've seen it firsthand, and I used to be an SJW. I used to be in this group, so I know the language they use, I know who they are, and I know the attitudes they have. It's no longer simply about learning a feminist perspective on whatever, or a trans perspective, or a black perspective, or a gaijin perspective, or whatever. It's about adherence to an ideology that is intolerant to any deviation. And that's what it's become. That's not what it used to be, but that's what it's become.
So, sorry, I'm finding this super interesting. Victor, you're being super quiet, and I hope it's not because I'm dominating.
I'm trying to get a word in, but I keep getting interrupted by your your asshole personality.
I'm
You
shutting you down.
You don't even notice it. It's all right. I'm used to
This
it.
show is going to be a safe space, and I'm not going to let you violate
You're being. Well, this is actually a very
crazy
serious
right-wing
topic.
ideology.
I got a practical. I got more of a practical question.
Okay.
Okay, and this is not my attempt to put the spotlight on me, but just to show you something that happened to me. When I was 18, when I was 17, I dressed up like a woman, and for Halloween, and went outside in New York City. I knew it. and I was punched in the face I got 5 Puerto Ricans. I'm assuming they're Puerto Ricans. Punched me in the face.
Peruvians are always bad-mouthing the Puerto Ricans.
They can't speak Spanish correctly, so. And they punched me in the face. They called me faggot, and I got up, and they punched me in the face again. And I think I stayed down the second time. And finally my female friend who was with me dragged me back to the dorm. But this is the question. I was very conflicted at that point about how I should behave, because I've got makeup on. I'm dressed in a dress, and I'm looking pretty good, actually. But I'm like, I gotta go out and get revenge. But my question for you is, how do you decide? I mean, do you have the conflict of is this the way? Does a lady do this? Is this the way a lady behaves? Or, I mean, I'm going to behave this way now, or.
Well, I never held myself up to being ladylike in any sort of way. Honestly, that didn't. I mean, okay. So when I first came out of the closet, all the conservative Christians came out of the closet too, annoyingly, and they're like, "Oh, we don't care if you're trans, just don't talk about it," And they would say things like, "You're not a real man," to which I would always go, "Yeah, that's the entire point." And they were the ones, kept telling me, you should keep quiet. And then there was this other subset of people. But the biggest subset, of course, were those who just didn't give a shit, which is fine. But then you had this subset where, mostly women, going, "Oh, now you transition. This is how you behave like a woman. This is how you put your makeup on. This is how you do it." It's like, okay, so I learned that. And I don't look very feminine right now, although I must say I do have my moments. But for the most part, I don't care about that. For me, it's just not an issue. It wasn't about going out there and looking good, although I do look good when I'm dressed in makeup and everything. I gotta say, I got it. But that's never was the main focus of my life, and so I never came across as ultra feminine. For me, it was like I had a body that didn't match my brain,
right?
And the science is that there is a distinct difference in the brain, and no psychological help had ever cured transsexual. They've tried electric shock therapy, aversion therapy, all of that stuff. And the only thing that worked was to change the body to fit the mind. And so that was my entire focus. And I had to go through a lot of shit from the professionals going, "Oh, we can't give you surgery because you like women." It's like, the hell does that have to do with anything? But
I was about to ask that, actually, and this might come across as extremely ignorant, but again, there's an assumption. There's a standard assumption people make that all gays are effeminate. If you like guys, you must have just been kind of like a girly guy who came out and must like guys, which of course isn't true, because half the gay guys I know are actually super masculine, if anything. It's just you don't notice. It's not as obvious, perhaps. But there is this thing. You think, well, maybe someone who feels effeminate or is attracted to men and feels effeminate wants to become trans as a result. But you're clarifying there. You're actually attracted to women.
Oh yeah.
But you feel like a woman.
I don't know if I could have articulated it like that back then, because I didn't know what it meant to feel like a woman.
Sure.
All I knew is that I know what it feels like to be me.
Yeah.
And when I look in the mirror, there's an incongruency there that is messing with my brain, and I have to deal with it. And people would always come in, "Are you gay?" And my answer is, well, both yes and no.
Yeah.
And they would look at me like, "What do you mean yes and no?" It's like, can I swear on this show?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So as one person,
that's funny.
Kind of like the difference is, do I want to fuck Barbie, or do I want to be Barbie? Kind of. who I'm attracted to in terms of sexual orientation is not related to gender identity.
Right.
And so I've always liked women. I like them, in their 20s. I like them, but that didn't change. And actually, you asked about, people's expectations on how to behave.
Right.
I tried to become straight as a woman because that was and like guys, because that's the respectful thing to do as in society. A bit of a misogynist.
It's the only the only respectable thing to do is be a straight woman. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tried, and so I tried, and it didn't work. Of course, it didn't work. In hindsight, and I know that because I now have experimental data that it doesn't work, even though it is anecdotal. But no, I've always been. Well, I guess I'm gay now. Yeah.
So okay, so
I'm a lesbian
right.
now.
But that is interesting, though. The attraction thing obviously is independent from the gender identification aspect of it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, how you even realize that? I mean, obviously, so you just intuitively always felt it. That's.
Oh God! I knew since I was. I mean, I don't know if I could have articulated it that way at the time, but I knew since I was 4. And I remember distinctly. I asked my mom why I wasn't born a girl. And I forget the answer now. It was like I was 4. It was such a long time ago. And at that age, it didn't really impact my life in any way. But when I started turning about 11, 12, it started to impinge itself on my psyche, so to speak. And I started to become aware of it, which is why I fell in the wrong crowd. I became big and tough, and all the stuff that...
So I want to come back to one thing, though.
Okay.
Victor, why were you in makeup and a dress?
It was Halloween.
Beaten up by Puerto Ricans.
It was Halloween.
Halloween.
It was Halloween, and these Puerto Ricans said, "Hey, faggot," and I said, I did this, and they walked over me and almost broke my jaw. They broke my nose. They broke my nose, and my jaw was screwed up for a while.
Yeah, you should have shouted at them. What, you don't like Halloween or something?
But of course, I was only 17, so actually, I was very inexperienced when it came to sexuality and what it was. And that year, a homosexual came on to me. A very good friend of mine came on to me, and I didn't know what that meant. I thought it meant that I might be gay and not know it. I thought, oh, maybe I'm gay and I don't know. Like, how can I tell? There's no tag, right? And I asked my father. I said, Dad, how do you know if you're gay? Like, what if I'm gay and I don't know it? Like, I had no idea. And that was easily solved. Do you like women? Yeah. Okay, you're not gay. That's basically.
Fair enough. Fun fact: most male crossdressers are straight.
Most what?
Most male crossdressers are straight.
Yes, I've heard that. And it's hard to explain that to Japanese obasans.
Yeah.
They really don't get that.
Well,
So
actually,
there's a lot of ignorance here about that. There's a lot of ignorance about that.
Incredible. I mean, the whole thing about hard gay, and there's also that other guy, Fuji Takeshi, who is a really popular effeminate character on TV, who sort of plays like an ichome, a gay host. But they're straight. They're into women, but they just they play effeminate, or in hard gay's case, quasi-offensive imitation of what they think a gay person's supposed to act like. But it's funny how sometimes you do just get people who, exactly, it is. It just kind of plays in, and people were kind of surprised to hear when Fuji Takeshi got married to a woman after building a whole career based on, being this kind of effeminate character. But but there again, what I like about Japan and what differentiates Japan. I mean, I've got gay friends here. I worked in a workplace which was like 50% or close to that gay.
Really?
Yeah, for a number of years. I don't know. It's like Japan, although there is the stigma in terms of it being kind of not normal or grandparents. The main worry is about they expect everyone's supposed to get married and have kids and have a family and connect on. And the main fear, I think, is more to do with the fear around that not happening than a prejudice against the actual, gender identity or the LGBT thing. So although there is kind of stigma, it's not the same as this kind of faux morality, this Old Testament bullshit that we have to deal with in our culture that's embedded, that says it's okay to
God
beat up
hates
on
fags,
people.
right? Yeah.
Well, that really messed things up for like 3 billion people, and Japan kind of fortunately escaped most of that.
Well, luckily for Japan, most of the evangelicals don't even know what's in the Bible.
Well,
If they did, they wouldn't come up with stupid comments like, "I do everything the Bible tells me to do." No, you don't. You don't stone coffins.
You give away all your money to Portugal?
You don't have slaves. You don't have. You're wearing clothes made up of more than one fabric.
Hey,
Come on.
maybe. Well, wait a minute. I think you should presume he's being honest first and call the police and say this man has slaves.
I have there's a couple of things we're way off schedule here, and we've got to wrap up soon. But actually, I do have to go. I have a class tomorrow morning, really early, on Sunday. Once a month I have one. But I do want to do a couple things. Number one, Nina Amore has sent in this week.
Oh no, feet.
This is the foot. We have to show a foot every week. This is
other gender.
This is the Nina Amore foot for the week. So I just want to thank Nina Amore for sending.
I'm not comfortable with this corner. I'd just like to raise my hand and
this is just the foot corner.
Every week.
We're going to try to find a good. So if anyone has a good, nice foot photo, please send it for next week, and we'll feature you. This is from Nina Amore. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, that's one thing. And the another thing, a little more intelligent, just slightly. When was the Meiji period first? Before I want to just test you.
We never got to that. Yeah.
The Meiji period was that period between 1868 and about. I don't remember what year he died, but it was after
1912. I looked it up. I cheated. But
was it? Yeah.
During that, what do you know about sailors? About the gay navy?
The gay navy.
In Japan. The British used to call. I think the British used to call the Japanese navy the gay navy. And do you know why?
I haven't heard that term.
Maybe it wasn't the gay navy. Maybe that's in my head. But the British used to make fun of the Japanese navy.
In the navy.
Well, I mean, the British prided themselves on the navy, and at the time, basically, Japan was an upstart nation that was technologically not advanced. It was societally, well, I mean, it was advanced in its own culture, but in terms of becoming like Europeans, it was behind.
Right.
And Japan raced to build up their navy, build up the army, build up the industry, because they saw it as the way to defend themselves against the West.
Okay.
And part of that was expansionist policy.
See, Victor, the problem with your question there is that
Gabriel's
an intelligent, coherent, lucid person who's actually going to give a legitimate, intelligent, thought-out answer.
Well, maybe
I'm
getting my period wrong, and I should finish that sentence. But I was studying for my master's a few years ago, and we had a segment on sexuality in Japan, and we talked about the sailors, or we read a book. I read a book on sailors in Japan and how the Japanese naval I guess officers or the what do you call them, sailors? Yeah, they were so tough that they thought it was weak to have sex with women, and they a lot of them preferred having sex with each other, with other men, because they thought conquering another man was a true sign of masculinity, because fuck, anybody can have sex with a woman, they're weak, that's easy, but try fucking a guy, that's hard. And seriously, that's what happened. And so the men were extremely tough, but they only slept with each other. And have you ever heard of this story? Have you ever read
No, I haven't heard of this, but to be fair, PhD studies are very, very narrow in specialization.
No, I thought it was pretty fascinating that in the old, and you know that the old samurais, the three main samurais, they all, not all, but well, maybe all, but they were infamous or famous, whatever. I don't want to badmouth them.
It was generally accepted.
Yeah, it was accepted. It was completely accepted to have sex with men.
Yeah, they weren't poisoned by a Christian message, although the Portuguese tried.
But then the British started making fun of the soldiers, and then the officers banned it. They said, "Well, we can't do that," because they were becoming a laughing stock. So it stopped.
I didn't hear that.
No, look into it. It's pretty interesting. It's interesting.
Fun fact: the Japanese got curry from the British.
Well, that makes some sense, because they spread the Indian Empire stuff. I'm guessing.
Fun fact: the word curry is not used by real Indians at all. I've been to India. They laughed at me. They're like, ha ha ha.
Yeah,
it's for tourists. They sell curry, but it's only for tourists.
Yeah. Well, the Japanese Navy got it from the British Navy, and then it spread from there.
There you go.
I won't ask what the Japanese Navy did with it when I got it.
You'd have to look at shows by Peter Barakan.
Yeah. Well, another intelligent source of information to go and get information from. Thank you for elevating the show once again.
Oh, like, gee, thanks.
What I said was
wanted to
historically
keep it on
correct,
the same
Hiko. I don't know what. I don't know why you're uncomfortable with that. It's completely true.
I'm just observing that. I'm guessing you're the type of kid who used to go through the Bible and just look for all the dirty bits.
I did that.
I did it.
I tried. I couldn't get through it. It's so boring.
It's great material. Yes. So listen, Matagaijinka, you've got a lot of very philosophical videos, kind of upper brow. In spite of being on this show, you actually have kind of highbrow sort of stuff. You are coming to Japan. You're a knowledgeable guy. If you're interested in finding out more about Gabrielle...
No, I'm not a knowledgeable guy.
No. Gal.
I'm okay, don't worry.
But yes, indeed. So remember, go subscribe, Matagaijinka. How long have you been making videos now?
I think my first video was the end of December, and it wasn't very good, as I recall. But then I'm looking back at some of the old videos, and they're like, I should delete them. But I try and make videos that interest me. So I've done some music tracks, and I've done a bunch of other stuff. But I think the main message that I have in my videos is an important message, because you have two main groups of people who talk about this stuff. You have the SJWs on the one hand, the Anita Sarkeesians and the Clementine Fords and the rest of them. And then on the other hand, you have like the Sargon of Akkad and the Armored Skeptics, who I actually watch. I actually like their videos. But they're all talking about this subject. But there's a group of people who are part of these quote-unquote marginalized communities who don't share the narrative. And our voices don't get heard.
Yeah.
So my videos are really like saying, you know what, I don't agree with a lot of modern third-wave feminism. If I was a guy, well, that would be one thing, but I'm not a guy. I'm a trans person. And so I have this other perspective that is not heard in that kind of video. I do want to make more Japan videos, but because I haven't been to Japan, I can't make videos like, this is what it's like to live in Japan. Because then everyone will be like, we're going to call bullshit on you because you've never lived in Japan. And so the videos are a bit more like, have to be more researched. And unfortunately, my studies and my reading lists that I have anyway, that means they take a long time to make.
And Three Old Dudes just posted your SoundCloud channel. You've started making music recently as well, which I just discovered today.
Right. Oh yeah, music. Yeah, I used to play bass in a band when I was in high school, and I'm learning how to play a pedal steel guitar. I took music composition and music theory classes as a teenager. So music and piano lessons as a kid, of course.
Yeah.
And so making music's always been important, but I never had the confidence to actually make my own and then release it. And actually making videos gave me the confidence to actually start doing that.
Very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So great to have you on. It's great to have you out of the comments and on the show, and good to get to know you better.
Well, it's really good to be here.
So next week we're going to be back on Victor's channel. Who are we going to have on, Victor?
I don't know. Gay soldier. A gay sailor. Sorry, let's screw that up. Like that
we're going to have to talk about our things as well soon.
Oh, I like this music. I'm listening to your music now. It's pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to go check it out. I just found it out just before the show, so I'm going to go listen to it.
You guys check out his music and check out his channel. One more time, it's Mata. That's Mata Gaijin Ka.
And
this is nice stuff. Yeah.
I'm actually working on a slowish minor key trance flight number at the moment, so which I'm rather proud of. So that should be out in the next couple of days.
Do you let people use your music in videos? If we.
Yes, I have to change because my goal is to get into Tokyo Digital Crew, as I said, and one of the.
It's not hard. You just got to make it. Just got to make it shareable.
So I have to change my settings so that people can download them and actually use them, which I'm going to do. I might not do that to every track because some of them this is mine.
Sure. Well, that's exactly it. So tell me what you want to share. Contact me, and I'll add them to the playlist for TDC. So you're in.
Okay. I'm going to try and do a number of tracks first and give you have a bit of a ride. So. But it's fun stuff. Even if no one listens to it, I enjoy doing it. And
that's good. That's how you got to do your videos too. Just imagine no one's gonna watch them.
Yeah.
Like this show.
I like to imagine everyone in the comments. I imagine everyone in the comments is naked. That's how I cope. You guys, I see all of you naked right now.
Mr. Cordyceps.
I just lost all my subscribers just now.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I do have to pop off, but
Okay.
but I don't know who we're gonna have next week, but we'll try to find someone. We'll try to find someone.
Find another Canadian. You know, we'll see. We almost got Michaela on. She ended up not being able to at the last minute, but we will get her on sometime. And thanks for coming on, and we will be back next week. So tune in and
Peace out.
Peace
Good night,
out.
guys.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. You can stay on. I'm just going to stop the broadcast.